The Google Teacher Tribe podcast is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. The Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. For more great education podcasts, go to edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to the Google Teacher Tribe podcast, a show full of tips, tricks, teaching ideas, and inspiring educators using Google in the classroom. I'm Kasey Bell of ShakeUpLearning.com, and this is my co-host.
I'm Matt Miller of DitchThatTextbook.com, and in this episode, we're going to tell you all about what to expect in this new podcast, as well as a little bit about ourselves and our journey through the Google Teacher Academy, which was a really great experience for both of us. And we also have some Google news and updates to share. So, Kasey, let's tell everyone why we're doing this podcast in the first place.
Why are we doing this, Matt?
Good question.
You and I have a long history together now. I feel like we've been friends for several years. We met at the Google Teacher Academy in Austin, Texas, and that was, 2014?
December 2014, yes.
Yeah, we were the very last Google Teacher Academy, which has now morphed into the Google Innovator Academy. That's really where I would say our collaboration started. I think that you were on the top of my list to make sure that I spent some time with you and getting to know you while you were in Austin, and it was such a fun experience. We got to meet some amazing people, and of course, we were at Google, so
right, exactly.
We were just kind of in awe, I think, for those 2 days. But I feel like the Matt and Kasey story kind of started in 2014, and we've been talking about doing a podcast now for a while. We've talked about doing a lot of different projects together, but I think this one has been at the top of our list. And because we love Google so much, really just sort of stepping out and making this sort of Google-centric, but definitely with a focus on helping teachers. I think that's, really how we sort of came to this point, and I can't believe we're actually recording now. Like, it has actually
We're finally... Yeah, we're finally here. And I know, doing a podcast is something that I've kind of been interested in. I dabbled in one a little bit before this and just really like the idea. Of course, you and I are totally hooked on sharing things that teachers can do in the classroom and stuff that has worked for us and for other people. And, I know we've both had our blogs for several years now and love to be able to write articles and help people out. But I just have been kind of excited about this because it's a whole different dimension because, I really feel like, at least on podcasts that I've listened to, you really start to get a feel for the person that you're listening to. I mean, it's kind of a personal thing to have a podcast where you're basically letting them into your eardrums. I mean, you're like, it's sort of a little bit more of an intimate thing. And so that's one reason that I've been real excited about doing this. And I feel like with as important as using Google in the classroom is to so many teachers, I just don't feel like there are a lot of options for this out there right now. And we're really hoping that this is something that will really fill a need for some teachers out there.
I think this is just another medium for us to connect with other educators. And I love podcasts. I listen to podcasts. I think you do as well. We listen to some of the same podcasts. One of our favorites is the House of Ed Tech.
Yes.
Shout out to the House of Ed Tech and Chris Nesi, who is also our fabulous producer. So if you didn't know that, we definitely want you to give Chris a shout out and to download the latest edition of the House of Ed Tech. Love his podcast and love the quality that he produces. And I think when we came together and decided to do this, that was really something that we wanted to make sure that we had the time and the right people in place to make sure that this could be a quality podcast, so that if you're driving to school one morning, or if you're on a commute, or you're on a weekend getaway, you can just, turn on the podcast and learn something new. And then, of course, we're going to have lots of additional information and links available in the show notes. I am also super excited about the lesson plan database that we are going to be building for you.
Right. Tell people a little bit about that. That is such a cool thing.
I don't know, this has sort of been on my to-do list for a long time, is to figure out a way for us to share more practical lesson ideas or activities. I know we kind of hate the word lesson plan, but a learning experience that another teacher could turn around. And so with every guest that we bring on the podcast, we are asking them to contribute a lesson to the database. And so we will make that available to all the listeners in a download. As those begin to accrue, we will turn that into a searchable database so that you can get all of those lessons for whatever grade level, whatever subject area you teach. So we hope to make that another powerful way that we can connect and learn from each other.
Yeah. That's one thing that I know whenever I talk to teachers or I'm doing a presentation with teachers, I know whenever you can get concrete, practical things that you can use in class tomorrow, that's the gold. And I know whenever I go to presentations or conferences or professional development at school, that's the stuff that I'm always looking for. And so that's what we're really hoping to do, is to gather a bunch of those together from all of the guests that we have, that we know have these really good ideas, and just to be able to share those. So yeah, I'm super excited about offering that too.
Our bottom line for what we do, what every teacher does, is we want to, help students learn and, focus on student learning, transform student learning with Google tools. And so I think that is really part of our mission here with the podcast. And how often are we going to do this, Matt? How many times are we going to release this thing?
Oh, I don't know. You mean overall total before it's all said and done?
No. I was giving you a transition to say it was going to be a weekly podcast.
Oh, yeah, that is definitely our goal. Now, we have been warned not to give everybody too high of hopes on that, just in case it doesn't happen. But that is definitely our goal, is to make it a weekly podcast. And so
we're going to do it.
We are going to. Now that we've said it, we have to do it.
We are going to do it. This is our goal. I think we need to be consistent, and I think a weekly podcast is what everybody's going to want. So I'm confident that we're going to figure out how to do this, even with all the crazy stuff that we're both doing. So, yes. But our official mission for the podcast, of course, we're going to produce a weekly podcast sharing Google for education tips, tricks, teaching ideas. We're going to share product updates, news. We're going to let you know when something's changed in Google that we found out about, right? They never update anything. No. As well as mixing that in with some interviews with some really inspiring educators who are doing some amazing things that we want to share with you. But our main goal is just to empower teachers to transform student learning. So we just want to make sure that we are delivering something that is useful to teachers. That is our main audience there. Now, are we going to offer some way for our audience to submit questions?
I know the easiest way probably to get started is, both of us are on Twitter all the time. My Twitter handle is jmattmiller. So that's the letter J, Matt with 2 T's, Miller. So you can always send me a tweet, and then Kasey's at Shake Up Learning. And so we've been using the hashtag GT And so, you can definitely use that, or we do have our Google Teacher Tribe Twitter account that you could use too. You could definitely shoot us a question there, and we'll be looking to use some of those questions on podcasts in the future. And I know we're also looking into ways that people can submit those questions in different ways too. So be on the lookout for those, and we'll keep you updated with that.
Okay, so one segment that we want to include in our Google Teacher Tribe podcast is Google News and Updates, because if you try to keep up with Google, you know that is practically a full-time job, and I spend a lot of time myself just trying to keep up with the new updates, the new features, new products that are rolling out. So we wanted to be sure and include this in the podcast and share with you some news and updates from Google. So I have a few things to share with you. First of all, we all know now that Google Apps for Education is now G Suite for Education. So if you haven't made that switch, we have some new vocabulary to get used to. But when Google added the Explore tool to Google Docs, one of our favorite tools sort of disappeared. And that was the research tool and the ability to cite our sources inside Google Docs as a footnote. Well, guess what? That is back. And it is now part of the Explore tool. So if you're in Google Docs and you go up to Tools, Explore, and you search the web for whatever it is that you are working on. So I've got a little example I'm looking at here of World War II. Once you get your results, you can hover over each of the web results and you'll see two little quotation marks in the right-hand corner of each of those. Just click on that. It's going to add a footnote citation to Google Docs. Yes, I know. If you ever had to do citations the hard way, everybody is all rolling their eyes now if you've ever had to count the spaces and everything else. But this is a super easy way. And of course, this is a great way to help kids cite their sources. Now, you also have the three dots at the top where you can choose a citation format. So we've got MLA, APA, and Chicago available for all of those citations. So yes, everybody is super excited that they brought that back. In fact, I think there was a petition to bring it back because everybody was so upset when we lost that ability. So Google, of course, listened and brought it back for us. Now, something else that you may be interested in, I don't know if you're familiar with the Synergize Chrome extension, which was a built-in training ability. So as you're working in Google products inside Chrome, you can get built-in training suggestions to help you learn as you go. It's awesome. Well, guess what? Google bought it, and it's now called Google Training. So if you go to the link in the show notes, the Synergize link, it says, say hello to the new G Suite training. And it is completely free. So Google bought it and they decided to make it completely free, whereas Synergize was sort of a freemium type of product there. So be sure that you check that out. That's a great resource for teachers and students to learn Google products as they go. Now, moving on, something that I just discovered today, which I think is awesome given the new year and New Year's resolutions. If you go to the Google Calendar app in your phone, you now have the ability to not only set goals. So if you hadn't seen goals, goals are awesome, but you have the ability to set fitness goals. So if that is part of your New Year's resolution, when you go to add a new goal, you will see some new resolutions and exercises. So you can add a workout, a run, a walk, go do yoga, and Google will automatically find a spot in your calendar for however many days a week that you want to work out and add that to your calendar so that you can help reach your fitness goals. So although that's a little bit outside of the classroom, I thought that was a fabulous update from Google, and especially given the new year that we have here. And one other update that I want to share with you is the ability to now add custom templates for docs, sheets, slides, and forms into the new template gallery. So this is part of the G Suite update. So depending on your rollout for your school and your domain, you may already see this, but when you go to that template page, so the home page for Docs, which is docs.google.com, and you see those new beautiful templates that they gave us, you now have the ability to submit your own and share those within your domain. So that means you can share letterhead, logos, all of that kind of stuff there inside the template gallery. So we're making the shift. I don't know if you're familiar with the old template gallery, which is sort of antiquated, and we now have the ability to add those custom templates into the new template galleries for docs, sheets, slides, and forms. Today, I am so excited to share some new Google Classroom features with you. So these are features that teachers have been begging for. So again, I'm really excited to share this. The first feature I want to mention is the ability to differentiate assignments within Google Classroom. That's right. You heard me. You can now differentiate assignments, meaning you can give an assignment to one individual student or a group of students or the whole class. And you can do so simply by going to create that assignment. And now there's a drop-down menu where you can select all students or just the students that you want to give that assignment to. I know personally this is something that I have been waiting for because I am such a huge proponent of differentiation and small groups in the classroom. And so this is going to give that ability inside the Google Classroom platform. The other features that you're going to be super excited about, there are now 2 new notifications that teachers can get to help them manage student work. So the first one is you will now receive a notification when a student submits work after the due date. And you will receive a notification if a student has resubmitted work. So if for whatever reason they had to unsubmit, you've asked them to make some changes, then you'll get that notification when they resubmit their work. And the last feature that I want to mention is actually for administrators. So if you manage the admin console for your Google domain, you can now get Google Classroom data in your console reports. So that's going to give you an idea of the overall classroom usage, how many classes have been created, posts have been created, all of those types of things. So I'm really excited about these new features. There is a link in the show notes about this update to the keyword blog here where you can read all about it. And I just want to remind everyone that Google reads every single piece of feedback that they get from Google Classroom. So if you didn't know this, when you are inside Google Classroom, go to the bottom left-hand corner. There is a question mark. There you can submit feedback. Okay, so I highly encourage you, if there is something that's not working quite right, maybe you've noticed a glitch or a feature that you really wish that Google Classroom had, request it, okay, because they do read this, and this is how we are getting all of these amazing updates and getting the features that teachers want. So Google reads this, pay attention to it. So again, super excited to share these new Google Classroom features with you today. So those are your Google News and updates. I hope everybody learned a little bit something new.
So, Kasey, I know that we mentioned earlier that you and I met at the Google Teacher Academy. This was back in 2014, and I thought that maybe we could circle back to that for just a minute, because I know when I found out about the Google Teacher Academy, I was so curious about it. And I know that sometimes people ask us about it too, and I kind of feel like as a teacher, before I got to go to one, it felt like this magical fairy tale land where all of your professional development hopes and dreams came true, and that it was sort of shrouded in secrecy. And so I thought maybe we could touch on it just a little bit, because I know before I went to one, I would have loved to have heard some more people talk about it. And so I know for me, when I went to Google Teacher Academy, which happened to be in Austin, Texas, ours was the last one that was called a Google Teacher Academy. Then Google changed the whole program to become the Google Innovator Academy, and Google Certified Teachers became Google Certified Innovators. It was just a whole new naming thing. But when I got there, I wasn't totally sure what to expect. It was held on at the Google offices in Austin, Texas, which was pretty cool. I remember when we got there, there were some parts of that we got to walk around. You kind of have to be careful because there are some restricted areas where you're not supposed to be. But I still remember, seeing like the ping pong table and the video games and all of the sort of like spray painted graffiti art all over the place. And we did get to sit in on some really neat sessions by some really top quality Google trainers and teachers and everything. But to me, the actual breakout sessions, which was kind of like the reason that I thought that I was going there in the first place, weren't as like amazing and magical as I thought they were. And that's not a slam at all on the Google Teacher Academy or the Innovator Academy, because the connections that I made with other people, that was like the amazing part to me, was getting to meet all these people. And, a lot of times in these Google Teacher Academies, it's 50 plus or minus, 50 educators that all get to come together, and it's a competitive process. So you have to apply and you have to get accepted. And I know a lot of times it's hundreds of people that are applying to get into these. And so we were very fortunate to get in, and just to be in the same room with all these people and to get to meet them and to hear what they're doing in the classroom and, to swap stories and to swap ideas and everything. As good as the professional learning was, I felt like those connections with other people were really what made the difference for me. And a lot of those are connections that I've kept up to this day, and I'm sure will going forward. And Kasey, would you say that your experience was sort of similar?
Absolutely. I would by far say that the connections made there, it's almost like joining a fraternity or a sorority. It's like this, and it is very competitive, but that also makes you feel like you're part of a really unique group of teachers. And so to be able to connect with the, teachers across the globe, and then of course you're joining the larger community of all of those who had become Google certified teachers. And by far that really is the biggest takeaway for me, was the connections that I made with the other teachers there, and the projects that we built together. And we worked on some great things. And, Matt, I still remember something you asked me at the Google Teacher Academy to work on with you. Do you remember that?
Oh, my goodness. I've slept a couple of times since then, so I don't know. I don't think I can. Why don't you, I guess you'll have to tell me.
It was not to start a podcast. You were working on your Ditch That Textbook book at the time. And you asked me if I wanted to write a book with you.
That's right. That was our big plan at the beginning, was to write a book together and not a podcast. It
totally was.
Wow. Yeah. And so things have changed. And so, right, exactly. So here we are now doing this podcast. This was sort of started out at our Google Teacher Academy experience, I think. And now that we're here, now I'm super excited about where we're going with this podcast, and, some of the guests that we've talked about having on the show and some of the things that we've talked about. And I know, at least for me, on my blog, so often whenever I publish a post that has the word Google in the title, it seems like that's the one that people read the most and that people get excited about the most. And so I'm excited about taking some of those ideas and new things that are coming, and just being able to share it with people. I'm just excited about where we're going with this. So there you go. That's kind of the direction that I think that we're heading with all of this. We're super excited about it, and we're so glad that you're going to be joining us on this journey, this new thing for Kasey and I. I know we're going to be learning an awful lot, and meeting some new people and sharing some ideas. And so I really do feel like it's going to be a journey, and so we're super excited to have you on that journey with us. So one other segment that Kasey and I wanted to include in this podcast is something that we're going to call On the Blogs. And since Kasey and I both do blog pretty regularly, we have some neat things to be able to share with you that we've done recently. And I know Kasey's got a really good one for you that she just published recently. Kasey, do you want to take that?
I have a brand new blog post for 2017, and this is based on the most popular blog post ever on shakeuplearning.com, was last year's post, 16 Things for Teachers to Try in 2016. So I decided, I must update this and offer 17 things for teachers to try in 2017. And you can get there by going to shakeuplearning.com/17-things. And it is an infographic and PDF download. So all the content is there on the blog, but this is a massive, massive post. There is a lot of content in here. So I wanted to make it available as a PDF download so that you can save it and look at it and share it and do whatever you want with it throughout the year. So I want you to consider this the 17 challenges for teachers in 2017. And guess what? If you're listening to this podcast, you can check off number 3 on the challenges, because that was the the challenge that I wanted to offer to the readers was to listen to our new podcast. Yes,
perfect.
that I'm so excited about. So, let me quickly run down the list and just tell you there is more information in the blog post if you are interested. And like I said, there is that PDF download. But number one is Google Expeditions. So this list is very googly, by the way. But if you have not experienced Google Expeditions, that is a must, and why that one fell number one. Google Daydream VR, their new VR headset. You got to check that out. Of course, number three is listening to this brand new podcast. Number four, the new Google Sites. And I think Matt and I are already planning a special podcast episode just about the new Google Sites.
Yes, it will be amazing.
Yes, it's going to be epic. Number five, get Google certified. So if that's something you're interested in, I have tons of resources to help you on your road to Google certification. Number six, artificial intelligence. Are you talking to your stuff yet? If not, you probably should be, and getting used to it. Number seven, program a robot. Yes, you heard me. Program a robot. There are so many amazing classroom applications for using robotics and learning programming and coding through that process. Number eight is the new Google Transformation Center, and I promise to include more information on that later on in another podcast episode, but it is a great new website from Google. 9 is augmented reality. 10, Inbox by Gmail. You want to completely redo the way you approach email, you should check that out. Number 11 is Google Cast for Education, which will allow students to cast from any device to the teacher's computer. So very easy Chrome app that allows you to do that. Number 12, create an ebook with Google Slides. 13 is the new Go Open initiative from Amazon. Number 14, Google Keep, a great to-do list manager and great for the new year and those new resolutions. Number 15, Google Classroom integration, so taking things a step further with Google Classroom. Number 16 is the new Shake Up Learning Facebook group. And number 17 is to be disruptive and shake up learning. So take a look at that post. Like I said, there is so much content in there. There are videos and all kinds of websites and links for you to check out.
Very good. Very good. So I've got some new stuff on my blog also. And the one thing that I want to call people's attention to is a post that I put up not too long ago about my Ditch That Textbook Digital Summit. So this is something that we just did in December. It's basically a free online conference where I got 9 different speakers, nine different presentations that were all made available from great presenters. One of them happens to be my podcast co-host, Kasey Bell. She did a great presentation about supercharging your classroom with Google tools. And so there's a variety of presenters. And so that all went over really well in December. And one of the great surprises that came out of all of that was that there was one of the people that watched all of the videos. Her name's Jen Giffen, and she's a digital literacy resource teacher in Ontario, Canada. And she did sketch notes of every single one of all of those presentations. So if you happen to miss the Ditch That Textbook Digital Summit and you want to see what it was all about, there is a post on my blog. If you go to ditchthattextbook.com and scroll through those first 10 posts that you see on the front page, if it's up there, just go ahead and click on it. The title is Sketch Notes of All 9 DTT Digital Summit Presentations. And if it's not up there, just go to the little search bar and search for Sketch Notes Digital Summit, and you should be able to find it. And you can check all of them out. They're all really well done, very colorful, very creative, and there are high-resolution scans of every single one right there on the page. So if you're interested in checking those out, you definitely can. The Ditch That Textbook Digital Summit is something that I'm planning on doing again next year. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss that, you can go to ditchsummit.com, ditchsummit.com, and get on the email list to get the updates on that one that comes around again next year. So those are a couple of things that we've got going on our blogs that we want to make sure you knew about. And
And can I just add this, Matt, too, because
yes,
you should be so proud of Ditch Summit. It was an amazing experience from my perspective as a presenter. I was able to connect and learn from some amazing educators who were just tweeting and sharing throughout the summit. And those sketch notes blew me away. I'm always so impressed because that just does not seem to be in my wheelhouse right now. But I just really wanted to say, first of all, thank you for including me on that. But what a great free resource for teachers. Thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, it was a blast. It's such a cool thing, much bigger than I ever expected it to be.
I think we're ready to wrap things up on our first episode.
So I think that covers it. I think we are through episode 1 of the Google Teacher Tribe podcast, and I'm pretty happy. I think we've covered a lot of ground. So what can we do next? Well, we wanted to make sure that you knew that we have a website. It's at googleteachertribe.com. That's a good place to be able to find all of the different episodes. Definitely subscribe to the podcast. We are kind of all over the place. If you're on iTunes or Android or whatever, definitely go check that out. We're hoping to release new episodes every Monday, so be on the lookout for those. We're also on social media. We have a Facebook account as well as Twitter, so definitely go check those out. And on Twitter, we'll be using the GT Tribe hashtag. So if you want to tweet something there, that would be great. We also have if you subscribe to our email list so that you get email updates whenever we have a new episode, that gets you in on what we're calling the Google Teacher Tribe VIP program. So you'll become a Google Teacher Tribe VIP, and you get a free badge there that you can display on your website or your blog or in your emails or wherever it is that you want to do. So those are all things that you can go check out before our next episode. And of course, you can always find Kasey and I on Twitter. I'm at @JMattMiller. That's the letter J, Matt with 2 T's, Miller. And Kasey, do you want to tell them real quick where they can find you?
Sure. ShakeUpLearning.com. I'm ShakeUp Learning on Twitter and pretty much everywhere else. And feel free to contact us there and let us know what you think of this first episode.
Yes, we would love to hear your feedback. We love interacting with folks, so definitely feel free to reach out to us. So I think that covers it for our first episode, and thank you so much for joining us on the Google Teacher Tribe podcast.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
I don't know. I threw that in at the end.
Oh, that's fine. That's good. I'm glad you did. So.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys. May the Googles be with you.
I wanted to say, we did it. We made it.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'll hit stop recording. I think that's everything, isn't it, for the first episode?